I'm here with Kathy Mixon, who is a first grade teacher in Keller, Texas, and we are going to talk about the teacher perspective of creating great sleep routines. As you know, in my practice, we always talk about the perspective of the child when we're changing routines, so I think it was going to be really valuable today to hear the teacher perspective when you're starting school for the first time, and you might not know what it's. So we're going to be talking with Kathy Mixon today about sleep routines for children and how they affect the classroom. So Kathy has been both of my girls' first grade teacher, and so we've known each other for
a
long time now.
Because Madeline is a junior, a
sophomore.
sophomore. Yes, that's a long time.
It's a long time. So she was so gracious to agree to chat about this because she knows how important it is and how much it impacts these little ones' lives in their classroom.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, first of all, for letting me do this. This is the first time I've ever done this before, so this was pretty exciting, but this is something that is near and dear to my heart. And I think it is so important for children that are entering school. We've had a summer, you know, our routines are not the same. We are, our sleep patterns are definitely not the same because I know that I stay up later because I know I can sleep in a little later. And this first week back for me has been challenging because I'm having to retrain my own sleep habits. So I know how important it is for your little ones because if I'm tired today, I know how tired they're gonna be.
Right.
Anyway, I've been teaching first grade here at Keller Harville for, this will be my 19th year. So, and I have always taught first grade. I love first graders. I think that they are so much fun and they are like little sponges and can learn so much. You just have to put it in front of them. So I'm really looking forward to another school year and a whole new classroom of little people. I call them little friends in my room. So I wanted to tell Jessica thank you for letting me be here this morning.
We're so excited.
I am so excited about this because I really value what Jessica does for families when their children have sleep issues. Sleep is so important for these little ones, and you know, I don't think that a lot of people now realize how many hours of sleep their children need in order to be at their, you know, be on their game, be at their best. And these are long days for them, and we are putting so much more information in front of them these days that we want it to be so much fun. But yes, it is educational, but you know, they get tired if they have not had enough sleep, and they will come in the morning and they'll immediately put their head down. By the afternoon, some of them can even fall asleep, and it takes away from their ability to learn all the things that we want them to learn this year. So I think it's important that they are getting enough sleep, and now's the time. You know, school starts a week from yesterday actually, and it's never too late to start getting them back into a better sleep routine because we do know that they will be a better student and they'll also be more excited to be here, which is what we want.
We definitely want to help you set your child up for success for school. And I think I'm on a mission to explain how much sleep plays into that. I actually taught kindergarten for 3 years, and I know you'll be surprised, but I was the only teacher who offered a nap. And for my students, we played Enya, and we had downtime, and you know, it just made our afternoon better because many of my students were not getting rest. They were staying up till 10, 11 o'clock at night in that specific population for that school. So I felt like if I could give them that rest or that downtime during the day, that it could impact them greatly.
Yes.
So what would you say is the hardest part of the first week of school for young children?
Well, the hardest part is our first week of school, which fortunately is only 3 days.
Yes, in this district, that makes it nice.
And
but
we talked about that because there have been years when we've had a full week for the first week of school, and particularly with littles, they are tired. And I always used to tell parents, by Thursday or Friday, they probably will be crying, and that's perfectly normal because they're tired. But because we have a 3-day week, I think that that's really beneficial. It gives them an opportunity to come in and to kind of learn how to do school. The first few days are filled with, here's what to do if you need a drink of water. Here's how we go to the bathroom. Here's how we line up. Here's how we get down the hall. Here's how you eat your lunch. I mean, it is just, here's how you do everything. Here's how you find a pencil. Here's where your things go. And in their little brain, that is so much information, and it is information overload. And it is establishing a routine at school. And that's hard. I think that would be hard for anybody, even as an adult. If you start a new job, you know what the first week is like, and it can be so overwhelming and you're tired. So we have to think about our little ones as this is all new. Going to school is like their job, and it's going to be a difficult transition.
Overwhelming in a sensory perspective, overwhelming in sounds and lights and directions, and being able to listen and attend to multi-step directions and be able to focus with 5 little friends around.
Yes.
Is and I think those are sometimes the things we don't consider in their little worlds. And I know a big thing, off topic, but lunch. Make your children's lunches as easy as possible.
Yes.
And even if they are going to be buying their lunch every day, if you could pack their lunch the first week of school in order to just give them time to have some nourishing and be able to eat. But think about those Ziploc bags. Think about how much it takes to open everything. So, and make it and practice those things the week before, and then maybe the next Tuesday send a note to your teacher and let them know that they need to start going through the line at the lunch, because that's a whole nother step in the process of lunch. Lunch is a big.
And we want them to be more independent in trying to open a Ziploc baggie, or trying to pull the cup off of the top off of a pudding cup or a fruit cup or something like that.
Those yogurts are really hard to tear, so think through all that. It's super helpful.
And we are there to help them. Don't get me wrong. We do have people in there to help them, but I think a lot of times, just in order to save time, we step in and we do a lot of that for our children. And this is a time when we want them to learn how to do that. And talking about the cafeteria, I always tell parents, yes, please make sure they know what they're going to do for lunch each day, because we might think that they are more concerned about what the number of the day is, but when they walk in the room, they're more concerned about, what am I going to do about lunch? How am I going to get home? And so I think it's important, the more you have those conversations with your children at home, the better prepared they're going to be, and they know what those expectations are and how to meet them. So I always say, just like you said, help them learn how to open those things. We have a limited amount of time for lunch, and they need that lunch. Their brain needs that energy. It's just as important as sleep, is that they have good food.
And so that's the reason that some families get so frustrated, because their little kindergartner or first grader will come home with a full lunch. And so these are the things you can do prior to starting school that will really help set them up for success, so that they get the nourishment they need and the calorie and the spike, and be able to handle the rest of the day.
And I also recommend, let them be a part of that routine in your home. Let them help make those choices, and they are old enough to help you make their lunch. Now, they don't need to make it all by themselves, but they are old enough to help and to make those decisions and to know what's going to happen.
And show you they can open it.
Yeah.
Kathy, talk a little bit about the 5-day week for this age range for families that are watching that may not be starting school till September, or different parts of the country that their little ones are going to go those straight 5 days, and maybe they haven't been in daycare or a full day school setting.
Full day. Well, it is a long day, it is a long week, so I really recommend that you be patient. Know that they are going to be tired, and that probably by that 4th or 5th day, they might even be complaining a little bit about going to school. And so don't worry, let them complain, that's perfectly normal, but bring them, be happy when you bring them. That's the most important part, is just let them know that that school is important, and that you are helping to make this an easy transition for them. But I always tell parents that they might even cry. They'll be so tired. But during those 5 days, when they get home, it's important for them to have downtime.
Mhm.
And that downtime is just playtime. Maybe not TV time, but just play. Even if they have a brother or sister that would play with them, or if you have the luxury of being there for them to play, or if they're going to daycare, make sure that they play, they have some downtime. And then you can start that routine, by the time everybody needs to have dinner, get a bath, start that getting ready for bed process.
We talk a lot about that in our wrap-up conversations with my preschoolers, is, the routines we set in place for sleep, for 3, 4, and 5, 6-year-olds are going to get you through the next couple of years. But something to keep in mind about starting school as a kindergartner or first grader is that first week, and what can you do? How can you simplify meals and maybe make it earlier before they're really worn out? How can you maybe move up bedtime maybe 15, 30 minutes to avoid those meltdowns? And then also, maybe can you skip your sports practice or your violin lesson or something that week? So it's just come home, decompress. They're gonna be needing that time for play. They're working through their day and recreating it and talking about it and thinking about it, and maybe even role playing,
Right.
something that they saw a friend doing, or something that the teacher said, or something they wanted to rework in their brain. So I like the mention of the downtime, and limiting the screens at night that first week,
Well,
to just give them that time.
And I'm a big limit the screen time person. And all of the screen time has evolved during my lifetime, and for a lot of younger families and younger children, it's just a part of their life. And this sort of evolved, and so we've kind of watched. I even know myself, if I happen to be flipping through Facebook, even 30 minutes before I go to bed, my brain for some reason is already on, and I have a hard time shutting it off. So imagine if our little ones have so much screen time
Mhm.
during that first week of school. They're having a hard time turning off that day anyway, and we need to provide an environment where they can kind of wind down and settle down.
It's
and
that
turn
stimulus.
that brain off.
The research says that screen time or watching videos actually increases your fight or flight emotions, and often children and adults take on the emotions that they're feeling as they're watching a show. So if you take that into account, if part of your bedtime routine is 30-minute show on the iPad, it might be Daniel Tiger, but it might be something else. And so when you go to take that screen away from that child and there's that reaction, that's because they are dialed into that show. It's a natural physical response. And so if you can move that screen time to a different part of the day,
Yes.
then you're not going to deal with that that adjustment, that transition from watching a screen to not watching a screen, and then all of a sudden I'm supposed to calm my body and go to sleep. So thinking in terms of just what naturally happens when we're watching those shows, and then reflecting on your child and how they respond in those situations can really help you set them up for success and not add in that trying fight at
Yes.
bedtime. So just something to consider.
Well, and just like anything as far as school, there's a start to an activity and there's an end to an activity. And even with screen time or any of your routines at home, you know, here's the start time, you have this much time, here's the end time. So that
Transitions.
they have already, they already know what the expectation is.
Mhm.
And I think that just knowing those expectations really helps them be more successful.
For sure. So if that's something that you have that's part of your routine that you're thinking about moving out, going with the setting expectations, make a chart and move the screen time icon or picture with the word to the front of their bedtime routine so that they know what the expectations are and they are prepared for those transitions, because transitions are hard. Okay, lots of good information with that question. And we might have covered this a little bit, but how does sleep impact children in your classroom? What does sleep, a well-rested child, look like versus maybe a child that's sleep deprived?
Well, a well-rested child will come in excited and happy about their day, and they are ready to tackle anything that's put in front of them. Children who are sleep deprived are going to come in and they're more concerned about how tired they are and how they're going to get through this, and they also may not be quite as focused on the information or the activity, or sometimes
Feel foggy.
they can also come in and just not be in the greatest mood. They can get cranky when they don't have enough sleep. Their day may not go exactly the way we would like for it to go, but we also have to, accept the fact that yes, they are a little cranky, but what can we do to kind of help this? And because of that, sometimes they might address something differently, like maybe a task that's a little bit more difficult. Well, they may fight that task even more, and it's simply just because they're tired, when really it's something that they can do and it is easy for them. So that is why I really think it's important for these kids to get enough sleep.
Oh, for sure. A little bit about a personal experience for my first grader, my oldest, who has always been or has always had the greatest sleep demand out of my children. In first grade, we realized that she was struggling with some of the reading and spelling and writing. And she was in Miss Mixon's class. And so what happened is one night we were, before bed, we were reading one of those Bob books, and I noticed that things that she could sound out like Bob or cat, she wasn't able to sound them out. She'd look at the ceiling and she'd actually say a word that looked in the same shape, a similar shape. As if you think about the outline of a word, that's the shape I'm talking about. But then, I remembered from the night before that she was reading an I Can Read picture book, and she said the word gigantic. And so I was like, something is off. But it felt like nails scratching my body, trying to be patient and give her the time to get through this very early reader she is a young first grader at the time, meaning July birthday. And so we talked about it, but it later turned out that she had dyslexia, and I really saw what kind of effort she had to put into class. And not to get off track, but I really feel like sleep impacted her success and helped her be more successful at school, because she had that regular bedtime and she was getting those 11 to 12 hours of sleep a night that her body specifically needed, and that gave her the endurance to perform the way she was driven to perform, because she does want to participate
Absolutely.
in class and she does want to be successful with whatever it was, whether it was reading aloud, whether it was a test, whether it was a game. and she's still that way today. So, sometimes we're talking about all these important things and we don't know that we're going to learn that our children have these unique needs later on. And so why not set them up for success with whatever they're...
Start early, the routines and all the things that you do right now when they're young affects them when they are later. And they will be for much happier teenagers too, because that's coming.
Yes, that's a whole different discussion. Okay, our last question is, what is one thing that you feel most parents don't consider about their child's school day, the first week or so of school? Something that's hard, that takes energy, that they don't see from the parent perspective, that it's an energy drain.
Well, it's a lot about the transitions, and there are so many different changes throughout a day. I think that is hard for parents to realize, and sometimes, we will put things in front of them that maybe you think might be too easy for your child, but believe me, there is a reason behind doing that, and to just sort of ease them in. We want them to feel successful the moment they walk into our classrooms, and I think that giving them a task that they can accomplish, something that they might already be familiar with, is very important for them. So do not fear. They are going to be challenged, but we like to make this transition easy for them, so that when they come in, they are feeling pretty good about themselves, and it makes for just a happier year. And we want them to have a great school year. And so the things we do at the beginning that you might think are mundane are very important, and very important to them. So never fear.
Just like we're building confidence at home with our children and their routines, teachers really work and strive to build confidence in their school routines. So where the academics may be lower, the first week or so of school, the focus is really on the processes of school and the transitions, because and learning and being able to really predict the routine, because that's what children, that's how they learn the best. If they can predict their routine, they feel safe in their routine. Does anyone notice we talk about this with sleep routines? If they know what you're gonna do, then they can predict it. They feel more independent. They feel more empowered. And so we're not going to start off the first day of school with a 10-question spelling test that maybe 2 to 5 of the children out of the class can do really well. We're going to start with something fun or coloring or something, so that everyone can feel successful. Everyone has that confidence, and then we build on that confidence from there on. So definitely from my days as a kindergarten teacher, it was a lot about the processes. I can't tell you how long we worked on lining up and drinking water. And the first year I did not do that, and it was chaos. And so by the last year, we seriously stood, we had a routine. You count to 5, you drink, no, it wasn't that. First person's drinking water, the second person is counting to 5, and when it gets to 5, your job is to, if you're still thirsty, get in the back of the line, and then the next person goes, and then the person behind them counts. I had really, really thirsty kindergartners, so it was a big deal. And then if it was lining up, we would sit down and line up for lunch. I had a lot of kids who had never been in school. They would marathon race it to the door, knocking over 5 people.
Oh, sure.
Okay, please go back and sit down. Let's try that again.
Everybody wants to be first.
Oh, yes. So we hope today this has been helpful for you. Please share in the comment box how you felt about the information we shared today, and if you have any additional questions. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed about your current sleep routines with your school-age child and would like to schedule a phone consultation to talk through it, please let me know. But we really hope that this has really helped equip you with the knowledge to set your little ones up for success for this school year, and really start off with a bang with those sleep routines.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. we want everyone to have a great school year. As teachers, we are so excited for every new year and for every new little person that we meet that year. Every year can be a great year.
Yes, yes. And our kids, we need those teachers that are excited and invest in our children. So we need to do our part as parents to prepare them for that. So thanks so much for watching.
Thanks for watching. Bye. She's the expert.